Okay, good morning, guys, and welcome to another market analysis session. As we all know, we're just trying to see what opportunities we can get in the market, and then you guys get to see how I get my entries and exits. Yeah, and for those that are watching this video on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the page. So let's continue. Fundamental wise, we had a high impact news on GBP. That was 7 a.m. And then we have another high impact news on CAD by 1:30. I need to trade anything CAD, so. And then we'll have another one by 4 p.m. on CAD. So those of you that trade CAD can watch out. I might check CAD to see if there's anything somebody can trade, or that's like very slim. So let's jump on it and see what we can get. So let's start with AUDUSD. Yeah, let's follow this. Let me look at the 4H first of all. What is the 4H looking like? Honestly, the 4H is actually looking bullish. So we had this high here, low. We failed to create another lower low, and then we had this high, this low. That's higher, higher, low, higher, high, and then price came down. If you observe, price did not actually break this higher low to the downside, this one here to the downside. So it's more or less like we're still in that uptrend. And if you look at it, price is actually what? Reacting from there, and then we're pushing up. So let's go to the lower time frame. Let's go to the 1H and then see what we can get. So now, on the 1H now, see what's going on here. So price created this low. That was on Friday last week. And then we more or less, when market opened yesterday, we more or less consolidated for a while. Yeah. And then we exited to the downside. We exited to the downside. And then we came back up. We created this more or less, we can call this one a lower high, but then we failed to create a lower low. Now from there, we created this low, but then it was not a lower low. And then we just broke above. Now, we broke above not just this small high here, we also broke above this range here. So it's more or less like price has started what's showing us signs that it wants to exit to the upside. So what can we look out for in this case? What can we look out for? We can just look out for a nice retest of it and then see if we can get the continuation. Let me see. Let me plug my fave. It's around this zone here. So what about from here to here? Okay, so this is what I'm basically going to be looking at here. So we have this whole range from here. This was where the move started. Oh no, it was actually here. Because we actually created this low, this high. We failed to create another low. So it's actually here the move started. So got my flip from there. From here to here. And if you see, our fib is actually around this area here that was broken. So what I'm going to watch out for now is, okay, can price retrace and get back into these areas? So once I see price coming back into this area, yeah, what I would like to see is that basically that shift in market structure on the lower time frame here, then we'll basically take that buy from here to the upside. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for on AUDUSD. Then NZD-USD right now is still in between. So let's look at the 4H. 4H is looking bearish. So we have this whole level here. 4H is actually broke to the downside. So this one is more or less bearish. So we had this high, low, we created the higher high, then we actually broke to the downside. And then now price is basically just pushing up, looking like more or less like a retracement. And if you actually go to the lower time frame, you see that up to now, we've not had a shift in market structure yet. So we're actually still bearish on this time frame too. So we had that whole double top at the top. Yeah. And then we created this low to the downside. We more or less consolidated yesterday. Then we broke to the downside. So now at this point here, we created the lower low. Now price is pushing up. Yeah. And price has not broken the lower high yet. This is the lower high here. And price has not broken it. So up to this point, price has not shifted structure yet. Do you understand? So sells are still valid. But honestly, I'm not going to take a sell from here. That's not a zone I like watching out for. So it's just to pay attention and see whether price would break this zone. Yeah, if price breaks this zone to the upside, then we'll look for a retest and then a continuation, just like AUDUSD. But what if it doesn't? Then we just, if we can have that whole continuation to the downside, then we're looking for sells. That's basically it on NZD-USD. So gold is making a special appearance today. I saw something interesting on gold that I want us to talk about. See. So looking at gold from the 4H, I didn't actually look at it from the 4H at that time. Okay, looking at it from the 4H, ooh, wow, it's not actually looking bearish. Gold is more or less looking like a range. So we had this whole high here. And then we have this low here. It's not a range actually. It's more or less price created a high, then a higher low, then we created a higher high. And let's call it a range. I think we'll safer that way. Let's go to the lower time frame. So, but then why I said I want us to look at gold is because of what's happening on the lower time frame right now. So if you look at this here, price basically created this high, this low. It was more or less like a higher low, then another higher high, and then we came and broke it to the downside. You can see that we broke not just this level, we broke this one to the downside. Now, if I actually plot your Fibonacci from the high to the low, oh, shit. From the high to the low, yeah? If you actually plot it, you see that price just got into this area here, and then there's that whole support, yeah, support onto resistance there. So it's actually like a very strong area that price might react from. So now, I actually went back to the lower time frame, went back to the 5 minutes to look for a shift in market structure, but up to now, we don't have a shift in market structure yet. So it's just to wait for a shift in market structure. I set an alert at this low here. If at any point you can get that whole, okay, price is basically consolidating now. If we can get price to break below, hope you guys are paying attention. If you can get price to break below, then we'll just look for a retest on these 5 minutes, and then we'll take a, so it's more or less like a break, then a retest, and then we'll take a sell to ride the whole thing to the downside. So that's basically what I'm watching out for on gold. So it's just to sit back and pay attention and see how everything is going to play out. So is there any other pair you guys want us to take a look at?
Yes, sir. Let's go to GU.
Okay, GU. Yes. GU is more or less like AUDUSD. I'm sorry, NZD-USD. It's almost the same thing. Now look at that whole range on the 4H. That whole range on the 4H. We have the high there and then the low of the range here. So it's more or less like NZD-USD. Now let's go to the 1H, see if there's anything we can grab, or let's just decipher this one. So this was what price did yesterday. Yeah, created this high, this low. Price failed to create another high, and then we broke below. So now it's more or less like we had a lower low here. Now, price is going back to create a lower high. Do you understand? And up to now, price has not broken above the previous lower high yet. So it's more or less like price is still trying to form another range on this time frame. So until I see a clear exit, honestly, I'm not going to say anything about this. So it's more or less like this. So until I see a break above. So if we can break above here, then it's more or less like we're shifting to a bullish market. So look for a retest, continuation, simple as that. But if we don't get a break above, then what we look out for is a break below. So that's basically what we'll look out for. But for now, as long as price is within this range, it's basically low probability to do anything. So it's just to calm down, wait. Any other pair you guys want us to take a look at?
Yeah, so I'm already on the buys on AUDUSD. I entered the buys around 6 in the morning.
On AUDUSD?
Yes, when the price broke out on that range. In
okay,
1
so
hour time.
you basically just traded price breaking out of the range. So 6 a.m. would be around
yes,
here.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Let's just hope that price expands to the upside without starting to fall back to retrace right now. So let's just sit back and see how it plays out. Any other pair you guys want us to take a look at before we go?
EurUsd.
EurUsD. You. Okay. This one is actually interesting. It looks like AUDUSD. No, not AUDUSD. It looks like gold. So let's look at the 4H. 4H. So on this 4H here, this was like an impulsive move. We created this high here. Price more or less pushed the downside. It's looking like a retracement because up to now, there's no shift in market structure at the top, and price didn't actually break the low that originated that move to the upside. So it's more or less looking like a retracement. We're still sort of bullish. Yeah. But then if you go to the lower time frame now, that's where it gets interesting. If you go to the 1 hour now, you observe that price actually created, first of all, okay, price actually created this high here, this low. We created another high. You understand? And then we broke it to the downside, looking more or less like a double top. And then we sort of consolidated here for a while yesterday, and then we broke to the downside. And if you look at it, price is actually pushing up, and the momentum at which is actually pushing up is actually looking very weak, and it's more or less proving that whole point that it's a retracement. Yeah, so what we can look out for now is we're bearish, yeah. So on this time frame, let me see, should I use this one? Yeah. So yeah, if you look at this, if you actually plot, if price has not actually reached the 0.618 area yet. So, and then we have that whole support to resistance there at that 0.618. So it's actually a potential place you can look for an entry. So once price gets there, I think I'll set an alert on it. So once price get there, we can just look for that whole shift in market structure or any other entry confirmation on the lower time frame. That's what we can look out for on this one. Any other stuff? Any other pair?
Yeah, I don't have any other.
Okay, good. Any other question before we go? Okay, so in the absence of any other question, any other pair?
I have a question.
Okay.
If
Okay.
I have like winning streaks, like 2 winning streaks or 3 winning streaks,
Yes.
like I'm reaching better now, will I be able to cover the loss?
Yes, if you have at least 2 hour trades, you should be able.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just sit back. I'm going to say something. Yeah. Just sit back and wait for your setup or wait for a setup. I'm not saying you should look for perfection because there's no perfection. Do you understand? Or anything that
Yeah.
strikes you as your ideal setup, take it and don't worry about whether it's going to hit your stop loss or not. What's the worst that can happen? The account will blow. Do you understand?
No, the account don't have to blow. That one is not possible.
See, it's just how the market is. Do you understand? At every point, I think it's better to not look at that whole, oh, what if the account blows? What if the account doesn't blow? Look at it from a whole perspective of what have I learned from this experience. Do you understand?
Yes.
Because if you just sit back and do nothing, you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to progress. But if you actually shoot your shots, there's actually that chance that it will actually go well.
Yes.
Yeah, do you understand? So just keep at it. And as long as you follow your setup, it's a high probability setup. So there's that whole probability that it's going to go well.
Okay, boss. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Is there any other thing? Okay, like I said, in the absence of any other thing, I would like to call it a session. Yeah, please, you guys should pay attention to the markets. I used to say this thing before, but at some point I stopped saying it. Please always look at the market like anything can happen. Now, when I say anything can happen, it doesn't mean it's only bad things that can happen. When you trade from that whole perspective of anything can happen, you'd always take account of your risk management. And anytime you see a setup, you always know that anything can happen. So it's not only losses, profits can happen. And at any point, if you feel like you're making any reckless decision out of fear or overconfidence, then still remember that anything can happen. You can end up with in a loss. So Always have it at the back of your mind. When it's something that's looking like your setup, remember that anything can happen. So it might hit your TP. And if it's the one that, oh, I'm going to go and force something because I feel maybe the market wants to sell, or I'm feeling like the market, no, it's not about what you're feeling. You understand? So just trade from that clear head perspective. Have a very wonderful trading day, guys. I'll catch you guys same time tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.